This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And joining me right now is Lori Woods. She is the CEO of Isoray. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is ISR on the NYSE American. Lori, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me here today. I'm doing great.
It's great to have you on. And I love hearing that you're doing great. I like great. Great is always better than good. So I like great. So, it's been a little over 2 years actually since we've interviewed management from Isoray. A lot has changed, including you are now the CEO since December 2018. But I'd like to first start with, let's remind everybody a little quick overview and history of the company, and then we'll go into some updates.
Absolutely. So Isoray was formed in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it really was a technology that had been looked at before. But what was different about it this time was a retiring scientist from the Department of Energy was gifted this IP as he retired. And what it was a way to commercially manufacture cesium-131, which hadn't been figured out prior to that. Well, we were able to take that IP and turn that into a really exciting company, Isoray Medical, where we have a cesium-131 isotope. We commercially call it cesium blue. That is a really unique isotope, and we're really excited about the opportunities it presents to the medical community.
All right. So as I said at the opening, you have been CEO since December 2018. Since then, let's elaborate on some of the company highlights. And also, would you say that the company really is on track with the vision that you had in mind since becoming CEO?
Absolutely. So when I came to Isoray in 2018, one of the focuses I really wanted to look at was how do we solidify the company and have a really strong platform to build from, because we have this really unique isotope. It has a high energy, which gets in there and kills the cancer. It has a short half-life that goes away quickly, and that gives us all kinds of opportunity. But I also wanted to have a very healthy company. So what we did was we took our sales team and we really focused on prostate, which is our core business, and a business where there's a lot of cases of prostate that need to be treated. For patients, they need to have this treatment so they can be cured of their prostate cancers. So we focused on that, but we also really want to see where we've had information in the past about how well cesium was worked in surgical applications, things like lung, brain, head and neck, other really crucial areas. We wanted to explore that as well, and some of the data we'd gotten from the past, and make sure that we could take this isotope to people that really needed it.
Fantastic. So as I've now said in parts of my first two questions, you are the new CEO since December 2018. So let's get your background. What led you to this role now at Isoray?
So I've been in internal radiation, which we call brachytherapy, most of my career. And that will tell you how dedicated I am to this particular science and procedure. It's a wonderful procedure where you can really take the radiation, put it where you need it, treat the cancer, and leave the patient with the least quality of life issues possible. So I started out actually on the other side of the fence. So I worked with a radiation oncology group that actually got started early on in brachytherapy, prostate brachytherapy specifically. And we did a lot of research, and a lot of the science that came out of brachytherapy actually came from our facility. I also worked with several companies on the industry side and worked with other isotopes, saw those other isotopes, took devices to market, all that kind of thing. But when I heard about cesium and understood what the potential of the isotope was, it really caught my attention. And it's something that I am super excited to be involved in, and really feel like we have a huge amount of potential for the future.
So I also have to ask, quite frankly, this is actually my first day back at the office, but we have been more or less in quarantine, right, since March, and the pandemic is still raging. I have to ask, how has the company been impacted by COVID-19?
COVID-19 has changed all of our lives, but what was really crucial to us was to make sure it didn't change the lives of the patients that we are trying to support. So For us, early on, we looked at our supply chain. We made sure we had all the supply we needed for an additional 6 months in case there was any slowdowns, which we actually haven't had any slowdowns or any issues, getting anything in our supply chain. We have been up and running. We certainly took a lot of precautions. Nobody's going into that manufacturing facility, including me, at this time. A lot of people in the company are working from home that can, but those people that are working in the manufacturing facilities, we took all the early precautions of face masks and separating people, plexiglass, and all the different things every company is trying to do to make this work for everybody. And we really haven't had any problems to date, which is great.
What would you say is the one question that you get asked from investors on a consistent basis that maybe you might want to address here?
Sure, absolutely. I think the question I get is really based on where we're going to go with the company and the future. And what's exciting about that, since we're the only company that makes cesium-131, people are really interested in what we're looking at and where we're going. And we've talked a lot about some of the surgical areas we're going to. But some of the other areas we're looking at that I think are very crucial, and this goes to our R&D department that we developed in the last year and a half, and that is, where can we take this in combination with other things? So things like immunotherapy or chemotherapy, what are the combinations we can do to help patients and doctors have better access to better treatments? And we're working with research hospitals and other groups that unfortunately I can't name, but you would recognize their names, on what these options are, because there's many people that really feel like radiation has a place in this mix, and that cesium specifically is very interesting to this mix because of its properties that I described earlier.
From what you can tell us, what would you say are some of the company's value catalysts now moving forward?
Well, we have our prostate, which is our base, but we are looking at brain therapies. We have had a lot of success in that, and there's a lot of clinical data being brought to the forefront about that, and will continue to be. We've also had some really good successes in head and neck. And so we've been partnering with other companies. A good example would be in our head and neck area, we partnered with a software company called MIM. And the reason we did that is that we were getting a lot of really good feedback and clinical data that said this was a really great treatment. When you have cancers of the head and neck, your carotid artery runs through your neck, and there's a lot of other important things that run through your neck, your spinal cord, and everything else. It was important that we had the right treatment planning tools for the physician to be able to plan correctly, but those treatment planning systems are very expensive. So what we did was we worked with MIM and worked out a project where a doctor can start using our seeds and MIM software on a per patient pricing basis, so that they don't have to make that huge investment in software initially until they can really prove to their hospitals that it's worth it.
Where can my audience go and find everything they need to know about Isoray?
So everything you need to know about Isoray is on our website, isoray.com. We have a website that's set up for patients, for physicians, for investors, for people who are interested in the company. And then there's a lot of ways to reach out on the website to us directly, and we can get back to you.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Stay safe, good luck, and I look forward to our next update.
Thank you so much. You too.